Huge day of picking stuff yesterday. Long day. Gone at 9 a.m. in the morning, back at almost 7:30 at night. Long trip, a lot of driving, way out in the sticks. Into a property with access via dirt road, but you know, got to do these things. Didn't see Zed's basement or anything like that, so that was good. But a lot of stuff. Quite exhausted, but we're gonna have to unload this stuff and go through it. Yeah, I'll do a quick over what I got, and then we'll look at things more individually as I pull them off. Heaps and heaps of old Westwood rims. If you're into bikes, you know what I'm talking about by Westwood. Not made of wood, but that's what they're called, Westwood rims. Rolled rims, some people call them. It's actually an antique hospital bed down the bottom there. Lots of parts. Lots of very old parts. Look, we got old Coke bottles and stuff in a crate down there. Lots of parts. Antique furniture. Got an old Melvin Star exercise bike, still in original condition. It's pretty crazy. Heaps of stuff. Heaps and heaps. Tools. Bike parts, more bike parts, heaps of bike parts. Bikes, frames. Some pretty damn good stuff in here. Melvin Star, single star. That one would be right around 1939, I think, from having one previously. Right off the front of a Chevy, I'd say. Giant old drill, still works. There's even an outboard motor in there. Got some nice early bikes in there. Even a Cannondale. Cannondale from early 1990s. Old Kirks. Big 32. Guessing that's 32 ounces. A high quality microscope. Oh yeah. Looks like something my older brothers had when we were kids to look at random stuff. Has like things in it already. I think I remember there was like a bug wing and different things like that. So we got some old Coke bottles, or Tristram's. People might know Tristram's. They're a Brisbane company. The old factory is still there actually in West End. It's now a Coles and the bakery and stuff in the old factory. These ones aren't that old. Contains caffeine and stuff, so they're kind of old style and in mil, so they're not old. This one's old. Net contents 185 mil. Pretty old, as in maybe 1970s. But here we go. Fluid ounces. So I think by 1972 or 73 is the story, we had converted all of the fluid ounce measurements to mils, to metric. So I don't know what these are worth, and Coca-Cola stuff is very common because they've always pumped out massive amounts of stuff, but someone will still want them. Got some very old bike bits in here. It's all just kind of bits, but these are interesting. The old, called them a Major Taylor stem. They're a bit not in great condition, but I mean these are probably 100-year-old stems. So if it was stored outside at all, I guess in that time, then their condition can really be affected. But there's a few of them. There's people out there that know how to work on this stuff and rebraze it and fix it up, so there's probably a good chance somebody's still going to want that. Old bicycle chains are thicker than modern day ones because you don't have to have all the gears on it. More random bike parts. What does that say? Good fin. Some old stems, some old things. That stuff's not super old, I don't think. Though these are pretty old seat poles. Back in this era, they had numbers on them, like number 4, stuff like that. They weren't the individual mill sizes like they are today. Can't see any numbers on these ones, but possibly worn away. Just to show off this bit as well, this is a very early derailleur, 1930s. They called them a cyclo derailleur, CYCLO. Some of you would be familiar. But, you know, guys soak these in, or they do electrolysis, cleaning things, and, you know, there's people that will actually get all of this up and running again, because, you know, you can't whip down to your local giant bike store and buy these anymore, so someone's definitely going to want that. Guess I'll probably put it on eBay and see what happens, along with 2 bundles of those stems, see what happens. Some very old bicycle rear racks, proper old ones. That one's probably older again. That could sort of go back to the 20s or 30s, even older potentially. Now these are actually rear tyres off penny farthings. They're in kind of terrible old shape, but I mean, penny farthings are from the 1800s era, and if you've got one that you want to just display it as a survivor, not as a restored one, then those would be perfect. Old set of forks. Tell the old ones they've got closed loop at the bottom, if it'll focus on it, instead of it just dropping in. The drop out, as they call it, where it just slides in. I think that era the axles were offset, so you'd put the long end in, and then the short end you'd kind of just give the forks a little bit of a pull to get them over the axle. You can see why they probably did away with that. Old chain guards. These look like the ones off the well, this top one is, with the wings. If you know the Melvin Star Coronation or Streamliner, look up Melvin Star Streamliner if you haven't seen one. Very interesting looking bike. Then that's the chain guard off that. And then we've got, geez, pedal frames, seat frames. Oh, there's a lot of stuff in here. Old cranks. The older cranks, that chainring was actually removable by those bolts there. The later ones, it was just all kind of one piece pressed on. So there's no doubt some interesting stuff in there. This is all going to be really, really early stuff. Bit hard to see probably, but that actually says Brooks on there, if you know Brooks seats. I believe the oldest surviving bicycle saddle company on earth was actually a horse saddle company, and the story was the original guy, Brooks, his horse died and he had to borrow, this would be somewhere in the 1800s, had to borrow a bicycle to get to his factory, and the bicycle just had some hard seat, and he thought, geez, you've got to be able to make a better seat for a bicycle than this. So that was the dawn of Brooks seats. There's history of it online, very interesting. They still make seats today using the old presses and stuff that they've been using for a long time. More of the tubs of bike parts, probably 1960s cruiser bike parts. There, dragster bars. Let's scale back on this camera view. There we go. Drags, like Melvin style dragster bars, original ones, curved back instead of to the side. You know, someone's going to definitely want those. I'll clean them up a bit. Some people just buy the reproduction stuff because it's all new and shiny and chrome, even though modern day chroming is crap. There'll be someone out there that wants a genuine set of bars. Now we're getting into earlier bars. Now something interesting to note is these are nickel plated, which is kind of like chroming, but this is the chrome. So chrome's all shiny, and the nickel plating, although nickel plating polishes up, it still doesn't look like chrome. That's nickel plating. So that's your earlier version of chroming. So I mean, that's probably, there could be a 40s or 50s set of bars, probably 50s. This is definitely an early set of bars. You can tell by the just the roundness of them. Yeah, someone's, so if you can see that, someone's broken this and tried to weld it up back in the day. So someone could fix that if someone was really keen. They're pretty early. Nickel plated bars, chrome bars. These almost look like something you'd get off a modern day cruiser, vintage style cruiser. Other random stuff in here. Seat frames. Be like a little tricycle seat. Mudguard at the rear of the so an extra splash guard at the rear of the mudguard. Some aero bars, as in aerodynamic bars, aero bars. The triathletes, you know, have them up the front of your handlebars so you can rest like that. You probably see them training with that on. They're not very old, maybe 1980s or 90s or something like that. So yeah, random stuff in that one. Probably the dragster bars are the coolest thing in there. Just quickly, something else I wanted to say about these bars, sort of tell the eras. So see how this is raised right here where the stem goes. It's just a raised up piece of metal. There's sort of the older version of it, and this is how you know the proper old ones. See how it's basically just a brazed on extra bit. So this would be sort of, you know, early 40s and earlier. So you can see, if I can get that to focus on it, you can see them different right there. Good way to know if you've got a genuine set of proper early bars or pre-war bars. I mentioned these Westwood rims before. Nice looking one. Still got the original pinstriping on there. Nice condition. You can see they actually used to reinforce the eyelet where the nipple goes, spoke nipple, with these little things. They're not so easy to come by, those little things. So these, well, there's different sizes here. Most of these are going to be a 28 inch, 28 by 1 3/8 inch, which is an imperial measurement, of course. So these were kind of before we really had rim brakes, though there were some rim brakes made to run on the inside. They pulled up. Rod brakes are an example of that. But later on, your newer rims have the sidewall on the rim, which is called the brake wall, because that's where the brake pad rubs against. So if you've got a proper vintage bike, you know, kind of 50s or earlier, the earlier the more definitely, then yeah, they would have had Westwood rims. Though in the 1930s, I think, is when this type of rim first started appearing on your, what would have been your just premium ahead of the rest bikes of the time. So I've got something like 50, around about 50 wheels, rims, mostly rims in here, but that's good. They're usable and they're sellable. There's guys out there wanting to lace nice hubs into the rims. They get them blasted and powder coated. So I'll run through these and put some pairs together. I think they normally had about 40 on the back and 32 spokes on the front wheels. So there's definitely some good sellable stuff there. Some of them are going to be stuffed. You know, some of them you can sort of see when you really start cleaning that rust away, you're just going to have holes. So those are, you know, 2 cents worth of scrap metal. But anyway, you know, it's all part of the stuff I bought, all part of the fun. So here we have a very interesting early piece. We've got an Edison shaving machine. So this was to strip the Edison cylinders, which predate records. Here's the crank handle. Undo that so the top comes off. Undo that so the top comes off. And here we go. Trademark Thomas Edison. So this would strip the Edison cylinders. So got a little mechanism here, moved along, stripped off the old music. Here we go. August the 8th, 1905. And this one was number 1190. Pretty low numbers. It's all English oak. Beautiful machine. Very, very interesting to find. Worth probably a good $350, $400. Just a beautiful thing. Great find.